Hello, and welcome to Rosa Laura. If this is your first time visiting the channel, it's so lovely to meet you. And if you're returning, it's so wonderful to have you back. My name is Rosa, I'm a digital artist, and this is part 2 of my 2025 Artfight series. I think this is going to be the final part. I have had so much fun this year doing Artfight, and I wanted to show the last 5 pieces, maybe last 5 pieces. I might sneak something in at the end, but the last 5 pieces that I've done in 2025. If you've watched my first video on Artfight Part 1, or you happen to tune in for my Should You Do Artfight or Not, I actually talked about how my goal this year was only doing 5 pieces. So between this video and the last, I actually doubled my goal. And I think part of why I was able to do that is because I set my goal lower in the first place. In previous years, I've really been focused on getting out as much art as possible and really putting my all into everything, but this year I just kind of let myself relax. I was actually out of town for a little while during this art fight, and I had a guest over as well. So having those external factors affect me actually kind of took the pressure off. I knew I wasn't going to do as much art as I had in the past, and because of that, paradoxically, I've actually ended up doing more than I did last year. The first piece that I'm doing today is of Berry. I've actually drawn Berry before her creator actually changed her design around. I love Berry's new design. The old design was super cute, but I think that this new look is so adorable for her. Berry is an OC for Your Prisoner, and I've done a little bit of Your Prisoner drawing on the channel before. I actually did a commission of Guy from Your Prisoner, and in Artfight Part 1, I did a chibi of Evelyn. Berry is an OC. She's based off of a jellyfish, and I really wanted to go hard on styling the Atlantean characters off of the fashion from 1920s to 1940s. I know that's a really big sort of like range, but I've been able to see the style from the comic and kind of hear from others that are involved, but that is the aesthetic inspiration for the clothing in Atlantis. And so I wanted to take Berry and put her in something that I think would be really cute and really of the time. In my reference photos that you can see, I chose to go with more of a 1940s inspired look with these really wide lapels and this kind of turned coat jacket on top, which I really loved. Berry before has been depicted in very pink and green, so I wanted to stay with that seafoam color because I really thought that it matched her palette well, and I thought that she would just look absolutely darling in it. The shot that I wanted to create with her was her stepping down almost like a cruise liner, or maybe in the setting it'd be like a submarine into Atlantis itself, even though obviously Atlantis is like its own little self-contained bubble and nobody goes in and out. The inspiration was actually from Titanic. I was thinking about the shots where Rose is looking at the ship and she's in that beautiful white ensemble with her hat, and I wanted to kind of recreate that sense of presence with Barry in that role. And I think that I've done a really good job here. The background evaded me for a while. I really played around with the tone and the coloring. I do some stuff with overlay. And it was honestly really difficult, but I'm glad of the balance that I was able to strike eventually with this piece, and trying to get the different colors that were at play together so that it came together as one cohesive look. I think that the shading and the add glow lighting that I was able to do really brings the piece together and unifies it. And I think that Berry looks absolutely adorable. I couldn't be happier with her outfit. I couldn't be happier with the look. And I know that her creator really enjoyed this piece as well. It's one of the more complex pieces that I did this art fight, and I couldn't be happier. I really love the effort that I put into Berry, and she was a perfect way to get back into things. At the same time, I'm really trying this year not to burn myself out. And something that I've done in previous years that has caused me to burn out is trying to do big pieces like Barry all the time. So this year I tried to intersperse more of these little chibis that I like to do to try and give myself a bit of a break. This was Jera by Raining Marble, and I loved the design so much. I love the belt, I love the pants, and I thought that she would make really good material for a little chibi. This was also a revenge piece. I'm big on revenge. I don't want to leave anybody unrevenged. So even though I make a really big list of, like maybe 10 or 15 people every year that I think I want to attack, a lot of the attacks that I do end up being revenge because I feel like for me personally, it's really in the spirit of Artfight. I love attacking people, but even more than that, I can't help myself. I love taking revenge. I have a couple of users that I feel like I attack them almost every year, and it's a really beautiful tradition for me. Raining Marble isn't one of the users that I have that kind of relationship with, but I really loved drawing Jera, and I hope that I did her justice. I got really lucky with the Clip Studio paintbrush that I used on the jeans to make sort of that flowery little pattern. I played around with it a little bit, and it ended up being absolute perfection for her. So even though this is a little bit more of a simpler piece, just a little chibi, I think that there's a lot of fun in the piece as well. And I hope that Raining Marble really enjoyed it. In fact, I know that they did, because there was a really excited comment, which is one of the best things about Artfight. Next we have Marikit. So Marikit was also a revenge. So Marikit's designer has a really interesting and unique art style on the page, and that has a sort of like really old Western comic look. Lots of halftones, little offset, the little dots. It was spectacular. I received this beautiful picture of Diana on her skates looking extremely cool, and I was like, oh, I have to revenge this immediately. The creators' sort of characters have sort of this double universe thing going on, where in one universe they're sort of like these almost mythic figures, and then in the other they're like superheroes. And I absolutely fell in love with this dress that I found for Marikit, so I really wanted to bring that to life. Again, I'm taking it a little bit more easy. I'm allowing myself to just have fun with the design and relax. I think that sometimes during Artfight, it can be really easy for artists to burn themselves out. We think that we have to put forward like everything has to be super polished, everything needs to have a background, everything has to be perfectly posed. And yes, it's really fun to put forward art that has that kind of energy to it, but it doesn't have to be every single piece. I still love the chibis that I do. I love this chibi of Marikit. I think she looks so adorable, and I wouldn't have her any other way. So if you're still working on your Artfight pieces, if you're struggling to finish here at the end of July, or you're just thinking about all of the pieces that you need to work on in your own repertoire, wherever you are with your art right now, remember that it's important to have fun. Don't overexert yourself or hold yourself to rules that don't actually exist. Just like I talked about in my Should You Do Artfight or Not video, it's just really easy to get overwhelmed sometimes in Artfight. And when it comes to moments like that, you really have to grip onto the fact that you're doing this for fun. So my chibis are really a manifestation of that for me and allow me to really let go. At the end, I put in some halftone shading on Marikit in order to do a little bit of an homage to the original creator's style, which I think adds just a little subtle flair. I love her. The next piece is of Mary. Now, this was also a revenge piece. I'm super motivated by revenge, obviously. Lazarelle and I have been going back and forth in Artfight ever since 2022. So every year I do art of their characters and they do art of mine. It is really precious to me. I have never talked to this individual outside of Artfight, and I don't know if I ever will. But the fact that we come together every year and we trade art with one another means the world to me. Even if they happen to be on another team, or not on the other team, if they happen to be on my same team, I'm pretty sure I would still attack them. I would still go for the friendly fire, because some things are just, they're just tradition. They're really lovely tradition. If you have a tradition in Artfight that you think is really cool, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Do you have someone who you always attack? Do you always do a revenge chain with someone? I want to know about all the cool things that you guys do to make Artfight extra enjoyable for you. So please share some love in the comments and tell me all about what you do. This time for Mary, I wanted to really capture the sense of like sharing drama. Lazarel did this really wonderful mid-combat scene, and it was so dramatic. And I was thinking about what I could do with these characters that would be half as cool. And I was like, you know what? We've had combat drama. How about social drama? So I decided that I wanted to do a picture of Semivai spilling the tea to Mary. And that's exactly what I went for. Semivai is such a little cretin, and Mary seems like the kind who would be very prone to listening to gossip. On the personality page, it was kind of like no thoughts, head empty, but seemed just a little mischievous regardless, so I thought I would lean into that sort of vibe. I love that they're both these kind of like blue-coated sailor types. Semivai has never been on a ship, but you know what? I believe that she could very well sit on a ship and drink like a pina colada, so I think that they could be besties. I really believe it. And really, the most important part of any friendship is being able to share gossip. And so I just wanted to have fun with the two of them in that specific posing. There is something that I got wrong, and that was I kind of misinterpreted the shape of Mary's nose. You'll see in the final product, which is going to come up soon, I actually changed it to a better shape. He's definitely intended to have a little bit more of a Roman nose, a slightly hooked nose. And for some reason from the drawing, it went straight over my head. So I'm really glad that Elazarel told me, like, hey, this is the way it's supposed to be, so I could change it. If anything ever happens to you on Artfight where you have a situation where somebody doesn't quite do it right, don't feel afraid to contact them. Reach out to them. Lots of people are super nice. And as you can see in here, I got that nose fixed because that's the way it is with me and my Artfight bestie. Finally, this is a piece of Siren. So Siren is also a revenge piece. I love revenge. And also is made for a friend of mine. Siren is a Your Prisoner OC, which I have done 2 of in this Artfight and in this Speedpaint this year. Evelyn doesn't count because she's a canon character. Siren is a photographer, and again, because the whole style of Atlantis is supposed to be somewhere between the 20s and the 40s, I wanted to make it period accurate. The references that I'm pulling up now are actually from the 1930s. That's the specific era that I wanted to target with Siren. It just felt right to me. Don't ask me why. I love the hat so much. And I wanted to look up a camera that would be more accurate to the era. I don't know exactly what model of camera this is, and obviously I don't draw it completely exactly right, but I really love the sense of like realness and gravitas that using an old style camera brings to the piece. Siren is such a cool looking character. In the references on Artfight, she has like the legs with the tail, but I've also seen the creator of Siren make art with just the Naga style tail, and that's what I really wanted to embrace. I had so much fun with the bows, with the ribbons, with the little shawl lapel collar, with this hat. This is the easiest hat that I've ever drawn, and I have no idea why. In a couple of months, when I want to draw a hat on another character, I will be staring at this picture of Siren and wondering why it doesn't feel half as easy. Now, if you've read Your Prisoner, and you definitely should, you know that there's a little bit of a mystery going on. And so I liked the idea of Siren in this moment kind of acting as a little bit of like a investigator or an inspector. She's got her camera, she's ready to go. I think that she has a little bit of a mysterious expression going on. And I liked the idea of some mysterious photos in the background as well. There's a definite noir vibe that sort of permeates Your Prisoner on the whole, and I wanted to really be able to enjoy and highlight that with this piece. Originally, I have the background as red, but I ended up thinking that it was a little bit too close to Siren's sort of like color palette. I put her in this really lovely, like, dark crimson and red jacket with this sort of like cream shirt underneath, and I wanted her to stand out a little bit more. Sometimes having a little bit more of a monochromatic piece can be really fun, but I felt like with the accents of orange and cream, it wasn't really working as a monochromatic for me. I also put an overlay layer over the entire image at the end, which lends it a little bit more of a watercolor printed look, which I also really enjoy. I put it over a lot of my art, honestly. I love fun overlays that give digital art a little bit more of a natural texture. I know Savannah Alexander here on YouTube is so amazing for being able to replicate that kind of look, and I wish I could steal all her little talents, all of her skills, all of her resources. Alas, she does not use Clip Studio Paint. But I'm sure that she would enjoy Siren because I loved drawing her. The last little effect of the camera flash just really gets it for me with the little bit of extra shading that make this piece so awesome to me. I had such a great time this year during Artfight. I really didn't let the pressure get to me, and I just allowed for myself to have fun. I think sometimes it's easy for us as artists to forget that when we participate in an event like Artfight, the whole point is making community, finding friends, and being able to both give and receive art from each other. I had a really wonderful time in Artfight 2025. If I do any more pieces, maybe you'll see one last speed paint from me, who knows. But it was really wonderful this year, and I hope that if you participated, you had just as much fun as me. Go Team Fossils! As always, I want to thank my patrons who helped me make art, but especially Banjo, Confocal Clips, Deator, and Fire Pit. And of course, you. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see another video, there will be one on your screen. Please like and subscribe, comment on how your art fight went, and if you like what I do, you can support me on Patreon. And remember, it's all gonna be okay. See you next time.